So the fourth issue we're going to take a look at is what we call rent seeking. Okay. So what is rent seeking? Well, basically this is where individuals or groups lobby, right? Or they design public policy, or it could be regulations, but a lot of times it's largely lobbying. They lobby a government for money, right? They basically are lobbying the government to channel money towards themselves, right? So again, going back to the agricultural lobbyists, they're engaging in rent seeking, right? They're lobbying the federal government for the federal government to give them money, the corn subsidies, soybean subsidies, or different protections for the sugar beet farmers, right? And so this is what we call rent seeking. And then you might think, well, you know, what's so bad about rent seeking, right? It's fine. It's a government. You can go influence your representative. What's the big deal, right? Well, the reason why economists are not terribly excited about rent seeking is that it's just a huge waste of money, okay? Huge waste of money. Okay, that is, it is doubly inefficient. Okay, so what do I mean by this? What I mean is that, look, when people lobby taxpayers' dollars, what they're doing is the following. We have our productive economy, right? Productive economy. Right? This is where all the companies are, right? They're producing stuff, they're growing GDP, right? This is the productive economy, right? Now government, and again, I'm not trying to bash on government here, but government for the most part is not very productive and tends to be inefficient, right? So when government taxes, what they do is they take money out of the productive economy and transfer it to government, right? And again, I'm not trying to bash on government, but obviously our economy is the productive side, and government is using that money for different things, right? So, okay, they've taken money out of the productive economy and transferred it to government, okay? Now, when people lobby the government for that money, right? Whoops, come on. Lobbying is using resources to get money that was taken from taxpayers. Taken from taxpayers. That is, you're using up resources to try to get access to resources, that is tax dollars, that were taken out of the productive economy, right? So it's kind of like a double waste of money, right? So that is, all these lawyers are getting paid to get money for a group of people, right? And nothing's being produced, right? There's no innovation, right? There's no new inventions that come out of this, right? There's no new great products that come out of this, right? This is people using resources to transfer money from one group of people to another, right? So it's not productive at all, right? And this is why we basically say, look, it's a big waste of money. It's very inefficient, right? You're just wasting money to transfer money from people, right? There's no innovation. There's no GDP growth going on here, right? It's largely unproductive, right? And so all of this kind of leads to this this new term that's being used that basically describes a lot of things we've been talking about, and the fact that most of us are not terribly thrilled with them, right? So this is what we call cronyism or crony capitalism, right? And that is, this is the idea that businesses, firms, large companies, large corporations, they're supposed to be operating in a market, but they get protection and special favors from the government, right? If I were to start a business, I wouldn't get these special protections or favors, right? If you've got a startup, right? If you fail, is anyone going to come and bail you out? No, right? You have to, your business is going to fail, just like mine would fail if I didn't do that well, right? But if you're a large politically connected firm, right, you can get favors, you can get tax protection, right? You can get tax breaks, right? If you're large financial firms during the financial crisis, right, you get bailouts, right? If you're a large auto company, you get bailouts. If you're a U.S. airline, you get bailouts, right? So when you have losses, right, they're paid for by the government, right? If I'm running a business and I have losses, they generally don't get paid for by the government, right? So this is generally what we call crony capitalism, and for the most part, we don't like this, right? But what's the reason why, right? The primary reason why is the following. Competition in markets forces businesses to serve the consumer, right? So competition forces businesses to serve consumers. Okay. Like that's the whole point. So if a business is suffering losses, it means they're not doing a very good job of serving the consumer. So if instead, when they have losses, they can just go to the government and have the government pick up the tab, they're going to have less of an incentive to serve you, to serve us as consumers, right? So competition forces businesses to serve consumers, right? The profit and loss mechanism of markets is an aspect that we like, right? It encourages businesses to use resources wisely and productively, right? It rewards businesses, right? Profits are a sign that businesses are doing a good job of serving the consumer, right? Losses mean, no, you're not doing a very good job. We don't like the product you're creating, right? So this profit and loss mechanism of markets generally leads to good outcomes for consumers. Right? And so cronyism is a way for businesses to get around this process, right? To get sweetheart deals, to get favoritism, to get tax breaks, to get bailouts, right? And you and I don't get any of that, right? So it stinks. It's basically legal corruption. It's not fair. And that's why all of us don't like it. It goes on. But anyway, all these kind of things that stink that we don't like, we're today starting to call them cronyism or crony capitalism.